Morning, everybody. Welcome to this Friday's webinar from Annika Digital. It's myself and Stan Lee and Katie from Annika today.
Hi.
Morning, Katie. And as you can see, we've got a guest with us today. So we've got Shane, who is from Lima. And Shane did an amazing presentation for us at Leicester Digital Live just 2 months ago. And we actually only met Shane a few weeks before then, didn't we? We met you at IRX.
Indeed, yeah.
It was quite funny because he was he wanted a photograph taken at the exhibition, and
then we got all talking.
Yeah, and we ended up inviting him to talk. So what we're going to do this morning is I'm going to pass over to Katie to do the video, the polls in just a second. And then Shane's got a really interesting video that we're going to play from the show, which actually gives a lot of his back history, which is really fascinating. And then once that's finished, we'll do a little bit more, a couple of extra slides that Shane wants to talk about and do a bit of a demo. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Katie now. So if you want to do the polls, Katie.
Okay, so the first poll, do you listen to podcasts? Yes, on a regular basis, I listen to a few. Yes, sometimes, but not often. No, I need to learn more about this. And no, not at all. So
what's the result showing then, Katie?
So far, there's quite a lot of people saying, no, I need to learn more. It's moving around. So 50% are saying on a regular basis they listen to a few, 25% not at all, 25% not at all. So it is a bit of a split there.
Yeah, I mean, you've got some data anyway about how often people listen to podcasts, haven't you, Shane? So you'll be able to put some context.
And there's just one more to go as well. So let's have a look at that. Have you ever created your own podcast? A, yes, I have. B, yes, but it wasn't easy to do. C, once, but never again. That was quite funny. D, no, but it really interests me. And E, no, I need to learn more. Need to know more about this. So at the moment, it's D, 67%, no, but it really interests me. 15%, yes, I have. It's moving around a little bit. A lot of people, it's mainly like, it really interests me. I need to learn more. 31% are saying, no, I need to know more.
That doesn't surprise you at all, does it?
One person tried it and said once,
not
but
at
never
all.
again.
Definitely not. It's great to hear it, though. It's great to hear it.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, to be honest, I've actually been a guest on more podcasts than I've listened to, which is a bit sad, really. So I guess what I do actually is I listen to them in the context that I watch them on YouTube. So I'm not really watching them as a podcast. I'm watching more the two speakers talk.
Yeah.
So I suppose it's the same thing, really, isn't it? So
yeah,
excellent.
Yeah, a lot of people listen to them on Spotify, don't they? Yeah,
that's right. That's right. Okay, well, what we'll do now is we'll hit the so if we can all turn our mics off so we don't get an echo. I'll hit the go button on the video. And then we'll turn our cameras off and we'll reconvene in about 24 minutes.
And just to say, everyone, this is, you will get the video later.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. I don't know if anyone is a fan of The Office. I feel like a bit like David Brent when he came up on the stage, First of all, thank you very much to Annika for having me here to speak about voice podcasting and social audio, and of course Lemur, which is very close to my heart. It's a business that I started, basically came up with the idea back in 2014, and it lends itself very well to podcasting and voice, and very passionate about it, and it's why I'm still doing it now 8 years later. So the thing I love about podcasting, before I begin actually, who here has listened to a podcast? Okay, so that's pretty good. Is there anyone here who actually makes podcasts? One. Okay, so that's interesting. Is there anyone here who can tell me a reason who has tried to make a podcast in the past, in the marketing game? Okay, why aren't you still podcasting? Oh no! Why? No, behind you. No, why aren't you still podcasting?
Because I'm face for TV, not TV.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Fair point. But when I started this journey, if I had asked that question, who had listened to a podcast, the majority would have been, hands down, never heard of it. And that led to me beginning my journey. But ultimately, what's important about podcasts and what I want to convey to you guys today is that they apply to marketing, and they're very important to tell your story. And marketing is evolving now, and there's the guy some of you may have heard of, Seth Godin, which I found was an excellent quote. Marketing is no longer about the stuff that you make, but about the stories that you tell. And it's ultimately people. And people buy into stories, they buy into you, and that's how you can ultimately market your business and your product. And that's what I've done and what I've learned firsthand. Being an entrepreneur and trying to raise money for a tech business like Lemur is not easy, but it's ultimately they buy into me and my story, not necessarily a product. And it was very interesting when I went over to Silicon Valley. I've been on the road, and one thing I learned over there is that people, they invest in people first, market second, product third. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to tell you my story in the realm of podcasting, voice and social audio. So hopefully you'll get to know me and learn about podcasting and buy into what I'm talking about. So my story. I'm Shane Monohan. I was formerly a professional rugby player, and actually the last time I was in Leicester was over 10 years ago now. I was playing, I don't know where Welford Road is in relation to here. It's a rugby town at least. So I don't know if there's any Gloucester fans in the room, but that was the last time I was here, so it's great to be back again. I'm an artist, qualified product designer, entrepreneur, and I'm the founder and CEO of Lemur. And my story with podcasting began when I was still playing rugby. When I wasn't playing rugby, I would paint portraits of rugby players, which they would sign, and then I had it as a bit of a side gig when I wasn't on the pitch. But that's when I first got introduced to podcasts, around 2012, when I found out how effective they are. I would paint portraits and consume podcasts. And that's the beauty of podcasting, is the ability to multitask. I tried to paint and watch videos or read. It just doesn't work. Podcasting was ideal for that. That was the beginning of the journey with podcasting, and what eventually led me to start my own journey in Lemur in the podcast industry started with a simple conversation. And this is tying into podcasts as well. They are simple conversations with my father back in December 2014. We're all from my brother's here with me today, a town called Drogheda, which is just north of Dublin, on the east coast of Ireland. And he's in a voluntary group trying to get city status. I won't go into the local politics side of things too much, but ultimately they had this message that they wanted to talk about. And they found it very difficult to market what they were talking about. He would try to write letters to the traditional newspaper angle, didn't work, didn't understand social media, and asked me for help. And I said, Dad, you're a great speaker, you have some fantastic conversations, you meet amazing people along the way, you need to share that with the world, so start a podcast. His answer was, what's a podcast? You have to remember, this is December 2014, like that point I made. People didn't know what they were. So I explained to him what a podcast was, I showed him some examples, and his reply was, Shane, that is incredible. I would love to do that. How do I do it? So I said, okay, Dad, you're going to need headphones, microphone, recording device, laptop, learn how to edit, learn how to produce, learn about RSS feeds. And he go, whoa, too much information, I'm not interested. So he went from amazing idea to not interested in seconds, literally. And that's where the seed of the idea came from for Lemur. And ultimately, great design comes from solving problems. Identify the problems like, wow, imagine there was a platform, so someone like my dad or anyone, they can literally open it up, say what they want to say, hit share, and they are done. So I took this initial seed with me back to Gloucester, continued my painting, but then started delving deeper into podcasting and learn more about the industry. At the time, you could find very, very little statistics around the industry. But what I started to notice was there's a lot of major things with podcasting that was incredible. As I mentioned, the content, the relationship you build with the content creator. Even though you've never met this person, you feel like you know them. And you could go up to them on the street and say, oh, listen, and they're like, you often hear Joe Rogan, I don't know if any of you know who he is, but he often says that people come up to them and start talking to them as if they know the guy, because they've listened to them nearly every day for as long as he's been on the waves, the airwaves. But ultimately, I identified a lot of issues as well, which anyone in the podcast realm would understand. Search was very bad. Analytics were terrible. And one major thing I also noticed was we are in the era of social media, yet podcasts are not social. They're monologues. And these issues are still here now, even though podcasts are exploding. And this is what I'm trying to convey to you guys as well, the pitching my product as well, but it's ultimately to help you get into, make it easier for you to enter the field. Anyway, the process as a product designer is identify those issues and try and fix them. So ultimately, I came up with the idea for Lemur to create a platform that allows everyone instant audio creation, editing, distribution, and interaction. And the interaction piece for me is the most powerful part of Lemur, but I think voice in general. And this is backed up across all statistics in the domain with like the smart speakers as well, which is a big part of what we're building this platform for, to integrate into that, is the ability to have a conversation, whether it's with AI, machine learning, or a real person. I think all of you guys will understand that in the realm of sales or marketing, is being able to build a relationship with someone. There's nothing better than actually having a conversation with someone, whether that's business or personal. And we wanted to create a platform that would make that easy, accessible, and then there's another major thing as well, which was a big issue for podcasters and still is from the business perspective, is making money from them is very difficult. So that's another thing that we wanted to help solve. So ultimately, the Lemur vision is to make the world's leading social audio platform, to help people solve these problems and give them access to podcasting. And what I want to do is I don't want to build a platform to replace podcasting. I want to build essentially a gateway drug into the realm of podcasting so people can taste it, they can try it out for themselves, see if it's the right platform for them, and then grow or add it into their existing strategies around social media. So now we're going to dive into a little bit about the market itself. And ultimately, yes, I'm talking about Lemur, yes, I'm talking about social audio, but what I say to people is, whether you use Lemur or whether you don't, it doesn't matter. If you're in business, you need to get involved in voice. And I believe you're missing a massive trick if you don't get involved in podcasting. And here's some of the reason why. One big area that we're going after, and podcasting in general, is the content creator economy. So I'm sure a lot of people in the room will be aware of this industry, which is essentially what we were building in the first place, to give people the tools themselves to create content and share it. During COVID, it highlighted even further the necessity and the want and desire for this type of platform or content creation. So this content creator economy is made up of about 50 million people, content creators, curators, community builders, and is valued at about $100 billion. Venture capital, people I'm talking to all the time. I literally just had a call last week with a fund in Switzerland. And before I even started the conversation, they said, all we were interested in is talking to companies around the new content creator economy. And I say, happy days. Hopefully you can give me a check. But they've invested over 800 million in this industry year on year. And our realm within that is the podcast industry. And this gives you an insight into how fast the industry is growing and why you need to get involved, because there's huge opportunity in it. It's currently valued at 14.25 billion and it's projected to hit 60.5 billion by 2027. Massive growth. And this is still with all the problems that I've mentioned, the barriers to entry. There's only 2.5 million podcasts globally currently, compared to 1 billion Instagram profiles. So that shows you, yet people are saying there's too many podcasts, is oversaturated, which it couldn't be further from the truth. So if you've thought about getting involved in podcasting but are afraid that it might be oversaturated, that is not the case. Content creators want to take part in podcasting, in this massive opportunity, but as I mentioned before, there is a problem. I'm bringing it back to the human level, and this is a amalgamation of the issues of people I've spoken to directly over the last number of years within the space. So the problem, meet Sarah. Sarah is a content creator with a large following on Instagram and TikTok. She wants to start a podcast to connect with her audience on a deeper level through the power of voice. However, she has discovered there's a major problem. It's expensive, time-consuming, and complicated. So the deeper level is very important. You have a lot of quote-unquote influencers, and a lot of them don't want to be called influencers anymore, which is it's a triggering word, I suppose. They don't like the perception that their content is fake or it's just selling. They want to actually build real relationships with their audience and their following and give value. And again, coming back to voice, they see the opportunity that voice is one of the best ways to build that real trusting relationship. And it comes back to that word trust is so key. So that's the problem. The solution, as I mentioned, is Lemur. So it's easy and instant audio production and distribution, engaged and interactive again. That's why that word is highlighted. It's the social part to be able to start a conversation. And voice monetization as well from the business aspect. How can I make money from my content to allow me to do what I love to do? More stats on podcasting and social audio. As I mentioned, it is a need, not a want. So 62% of the US population, or 117 million people in the US, have listened to a podcast. And like this room, the majority of the people put their hand up. So that's fantastic to see. 80% of podcast listeners tune into 8 different shows every week, on average listening to 6 hours and 39 minutes of content. That's 6 hours and 39 minutes of attention that you could possibly have for your customers, for whatever your industry is in, which is incredible. And they listen to up to, if not the total, up to 80% of a podcast, which is insane when you think about it. So it gives you that time to build a relationship with the person who's listening and, again, gain their trust. So in the UK, there's 18% of adults in the UK, or 12 million people, have listened to a podcast weekly. And 60% of podcast listeners have bought something from a podcast ad. And the thing with that as well is podcast consumers are 179% more likely to purchase after listening to an ad via podcast than any other form of media, which is why everyone is jumping into podcasting. We need to get in there. It's the return on investment. And again, 80% of people pay more attention to podcast ads than ads on radio, TV, billboards, or even social media. So touching on that from the business perspective, again, put your money where your mouth is. Again, whether you use Lemur, whether you start a podcast, doesn't matter. You need to get involved in it from a business perspective, from a marketing perspective, because it is one of the most effective ways, and there's a huge opportunity for a land grab for your business and your own brand. So again, just touching on Lemur Patron, what it is, ultimately we give the ability to create, edit, share, interact. We have unbelievable analytics as well, because we're a centralized platform to give you information on who's listening, how long, where from, so on and so forth. But now we are just about to launch Lemur Patron, which has taken me about 7 years to get to this point. So it's been a long time coming, but we're very excited about it. For anyone who's aware of Patreon, similar to that, but it's internal to Lemur. So you can literally add prices in the cast as you share it, and people can buy it instantly via Apple Pay or Google Pay in-app. So it's a great way of instantly monetizing and not relying on being big enough to get a sponsor, which most people are not. So again, the features on Patreon is obviously the ability to monetize, access to core features, advanced features, verification, 5 categories is another thing we've introduced, analytics, dashboard for uploading your pre-recorded content as well. And a big thing that I wanted to insert into Lemur Patron is not just technology. We're not just giving you software. It comes back to people as well. Is to build a network of content creators that can work with one another and help rise each other's ships. You know, rising tide lifts all ships. And that's one of the beautiful things about podcasting in general. It's one of the best ways to actually network, meet people, and build relationships. Like, I generally have my own one, traditional podcast, as I call it, Mono y Mono, which I'm hoping to launch series 2 soon. But one thing I love about it is I can actually reach out to people I have an interest in. There was a guy, for example, Cigar Dandy. He's a simile, but for cigars. And he's based in Serbia. I reached out to him via and said, listen, I'd love you to be in my podcast. And he accepted. We spoke, and we had a 3-hour conversation. It was incredible. And now I could literally pick up the phone to him and talk to him at any time. From going from being a fan, now we have a relationship. That's how effective they are. And it's similar to back in the day when a journalist would ring you from the newspaper and say, listen, we'd love to do a story on you. Most people, unless they're very private or don't want to talk to the papers about a bad story, would say, yeah, that would be great. Very similar, so very, very effective from a networking perspective. And that's what Lemur Patron is. You get the software, the ability to monetize, but you also get access to the network, and we help you brainstorm and give you the lessons and consult essentially to help you get started and kick off your strategy to create social audio and traditional podcasting. So mention that. So another aspect of why to join Lemur Patron, but why to get involved in voice. The world is waking up to voice, full stop. So digital audio advertising projected to hit $6.9 billion by 2022. Voice commerce, this is a huge part of it as well. All e-commerce is evolving into voice commerce. What that means is buying and selling via voice technology as well as voice-centered ads. So that's currently $4.6 billion and is projected to hit $19.4 billion by 2023. Again, exponential growth. The voice economy. Most people, you ask them what the voice economy is, they're not going to know. Yet it's projected to hit $1 trillion in valuation by 2025. That's what we're building the platform for. That's what everyone is starting a podcast for, is to be part of this voice economy. That's all aspects of voice, not just social audio, not just podcasting. It's voice AI, voice machine learning, voice analytics, voice transcription, voice translation. And that's what we're building the platform for in the future. Imagine you record a podcast here in Leicester in English, and someone in Shanghai in China hits play, and it plays in Chinese, but it plays in your voice, speaking Chinese. That's what's coming. So some of you may have seen the deepfake videos with Tom Cruise from that side of it. Just think about that with voice. Same goes for search, voice search. So what's coming down the line is essentially, I recorded a cast earlier on already with the guys from ATG. Big shout out to ATG, Steve and Dave. In 5 years' time, this is where the search potentially could be. They have it at the military level already. I go, Lemur, play the conversation between Shane Monohan and Steve and Dave at ATG at 1 o'clock in Leicester on 7th of June, 2022. It will play. That's what's coming. So that's, again, building into what's coming is very, very important. Again, the big dogs all know about that. Spotify, they've spent over $1 billion on podcasts already, with revenues increasing 627% year on year. They are going for the land grab, but all the competitors are starting to wake up to that as well. Microsoft just acquired Nuance in March for $16 billion. Their voice activation company, voice recognition. And this ties into the smart speaker market as well, which globally is currently $7.1 billion and is projected to hit $15.6 billion in 2025. On that note, voice commerce. Here is an amazing example. So, Nike did their first ever voice product launch. They launched a new pair of sneakers, a halftime at an NBA game between the Boston Celtics and LA Lakers. Sneakers were $350. And they said at halftime, if you have a smart speaker in the room and you want these sneakers, just ask Nike. They had 15,000 orders and the shoes sold out in 6 minutes. $5.25 million. That's voice commerce. That's what's coming. And that's what I'm saying. You need to start building your sonic identity, your sonic branding, your podcast, whatever the case may be, because people don't realize what's coming. Just imagine that you can go on and you can push yourself, your business, with the trust factor that you have built up with that quality, real conversational content that you have, and you're able to apply that form of marketing and technology to it. Backed up again by science. Your brain likes audio. So voice drives a greater emotional connection with brands. It sparks twice the emotional activity versus text, and 50% less brain activity occurs processing voice-delivered answers. So basically, it's easier and healthier to use voice. So we've got a lot of issues with screen time, how it's affecting people's concentration, Zoom fatigue. Almost 50% of people who use Zoom during the pandemic reported having Zoom fatigue. I don't like being on video. It stresses me out. It hurts my eyes. Turn off the video. Backed up by how the brain works. It's another beautiful thing about voice. You don't need to worry about your hair or what you're wearing when it's just audio. And I've experienced that myself with the Zoom. Generally, you need to, lemur branding, make sure your hair is not over all of it, make your shaving, all that kind of stuff. But when I do a call and it's just audio, relaxed. I really took note of it one meeting in particular, and it was a very interesting feeling. Again, the short and long form voice ads score higher on consumer persuasion, brand recall versus display banner ads and video ads. Again, all supported by scientific research, and most importantly, again, coming back to conversation and the social audio aspect of it. Two-way dialogues are more memorable than single stimuli. So, bringing it all back to Lemur Patron. Remember Sarah? So she's now a daily user of Lemur. She's grown her following on the platform to 10,000 people. She values becoming a Lemur Patron, and she's requested and received her exclusive invitation. It's invitation only, guys. After purchasing her yearly subscription, she's launched her new series, exclusive social audio, and her new audiobook, selling for £20. In her first month, she sold 100 books, generating £2,000 in Lemur Patron revenue. So that's just a good example of how, quote-unquote, influencer or business owner can use the power of voice to monetize their content, their audiobook, whatever the case may be. Another great example, a fellow who helped us test Lemur. If there's any horse racing fans in the room, put up your hand, please. No? No. But anyway, a fellow, John Owen, he's a professional horse tipster. Every day for a year, he would get on Lemur and give 3 free horse tips. But his voice is absolutely fantastic. It's literally like the guy on it's Rule Supreme going down. His voice is brilliant. After, it's not good for me because every time I listen to it, it's like, geez, I can't miss out on those tips. They're sure winners, But that shows the power of it. He's the kind of guy, he could go on there, 3 free tips a day, and then come Cheltenham week, if you want the tips, pay me 20 quid, and you get access. But the beauty about the patron side of it as well, you're not just paying for consumption, you're paying for interaction, because you have to subscribe in order to pay. But again, it comes back to the most important thing I was saying, the conversation. So, record, share, and monetize. We value your voice. You should too. Again, forget Lemur. Get involved in voice podcasting. As a business, as a marketer, as a brand, it's the future. So, that's it from me. Thank you for listening. And and of course, if you're interested, you can download Lemur for free. If you're interested.
Okay, guys, if you want to come back in. So thank you very much. We're just waiting for Shane to reappear. There you are. It's
Hello.
always weird when you watch yourself on video, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah. I can't believe that's, 2 months ago already. Crazy.
And you've done quite a lot since then, haven't you? Because you've launched the new enterprise, which is what you're going to talk to us about next. So let me just remove the video so we can see. Perhaps I'll turn my camera off if you want to just do. Do you want to just show what it looks like on the app? And
So in regards to Lemur, I'll give a very quick overview of the app itself and the interface and how it works. Following up on all that information that you just heard in the video. So basic level, you can download Lemur instantly for free on the App Store or Google Play. Set up a profile in a very similar way to how you would set up a profile on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok. And that's a good analogy we use for Lemur. Essentially what Instagram did for images, TikTok did for video, Lemur does for voice and podcasting. So once you've set up your profile on Lemur, you can instantly begin recording audio or podcasts and share it to your profile. So the show, hopefully you can see this now on the screen. I don't know if
you keep it still and hold it in front of you, because you got your back behind you.
Okay.
You need to it thinks it's trying to show. Go back a bit. Stop. Yeah.
Okay.
There. Yeah.
Hopefully that's
it.
okay. Yeah. So you can see here, the profile is very similar. You have following and followers. So the Lemur profile currently has over 16,000 followers on our profile. And image is very important. I touched on the fact that I was an artist, so I'm a very visual person, but it's also very important to catch the attention of people. And it's why on YouTube, for example, they emphasize how important the thumbnail image is to a video to get them in the first place. So image is great to give context. I always liken it back to an album cover on an LP back in the day, or on a video or DVD. The image drew you in. So it gives context to what you're talking about there. So this is a cast I literally just did last night, which is about the top 3 highest earning podcasters in the globe. Joe Rogan sitting at the top at $30 million a year that we know of.
Until he gets it all taken away.
Yeah, exactly. Here's another one I did last week on the mean streets of Dublin City with Robert Fitzhugh, who has just started using Lemur. He's a content creator here in Ireland, film smart, mainly in videography, but he's starting to move into the space of podcasting and voice because he recognizes the opportunity. So that was a fantastic one we did together. And then that was just a general statistic one. But on the one here with Robert, you can't see very well on the video because I'm away from it, but there's the interaction piece. Like you would see on Instagram or Twitter, we bring interaction to voice. So you have likes, you have recasts, which are the equivalent of a retweet internal to Lemur. So you can share content you like or support people that you follow. We have the comment section, and then, of course, the share. So the current share we have an internal share. You can share DMs, very similar to Twitter at the moment. Very simple direct messaging. That's going to evolve in time as well to be very similar to WhatsApp or Telegram, internal to Lemur. And you also have the ability to share a cast preview outside of the app of up to 3 minutes. And we are going to be introducing full-length cast previews for our enterprise customers, which I'll touch on now in a second. So essentially what that means is you can share 3 minutes of a cast to LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you choose to do so. And people can listen to that piece of audio without the need to download the Lemur app. So that's fantastic to help with your listen count. But you always want to encourage your followers or your listeners to follow you on Lemur, because that's where you get the detailed analytics. You lose the detailed analytics when people consume outside of the platform. And that's the issue associated with traditional podcasting as well, as the standard of analytics is very, very bad, which is not good for marketing perspective.
And the main thing that you've not really mentioned, which was what impressed me, was effectively, once you've got the app on your phone, you shoot the whole thing on your phone, you edit the image on your phone. I think you can even edit the video on your phone, can't you? And then you can post it to Lemur, and then you can post it outside as well.
100%. Yeah, I'll go through that for you now. And just so before I just jump into that, is just the comment section. So, for example, hopefully you can see that. Yeah, so the comment section, very, very similar to existing platforms, but the big thing we have is voice comments, and these are an absolute game changer in terms of building that trust. Look at these comments as mini podcasts. We limit them to 3 minutes, like that cast preview length, because that's what we found to be the most effective length for short form content. Long enough to get in interesting information, short enough to consume quickly, and the attention you get from people is absolutely insane, the level of attention. So, for example, James, who was an intern working with us, he recorded a cast which was 2 minutes long about his morning coffee routine. An interesting topic, asking people their routine, drew them in to spark conversation. On average, the voice comment replies he got over 20 voice comment replies on average. They were 2 minutes long. So he had 2 minutes of people's attention for the content in the first place, and then he had 2 minutes of their attention from the voice comment reply. So you can only imagine that from a bigger business or an influencer perspective, the level of attention that they're going to grab when people are competing for 2 to 3 seconds of attention on YouTube.
Is that you, Katie? Sorry.
So following up on how it actually works. So once you have the app and you set up your profile, you'll see a yellow button at the bottom. You select that, and that automatically opens up your record tool set. So to start, you simply hit the red button. You have a 3, 2, 1 countdown timer. Hopefully you can see that. Not very well on this background, but you can see it there, and it's now recording audio. So you have the ability to pause.
I can just about make that out.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
Pause, resume, standard. You have the ability then, we have a quick edit in the top right hand corner. which works very similar to text messaging editing. So you can copy, paste, delete, listen to a preview of audio. It's a fantastic tool. But again, it comes back to the name of Lemur, stands for less is more. The editing is a habit and not needed approach. I always advise for anyone I'm consulting, when it comes to podcasting, try and avoid any editing if you can, because what people love about podcasting is it's not an interview, it's a conversation. And you do not edit conversation. The ums, the buts, the cursing, the mistakes, people like that because it's real. It's not over edited. But if you do have state security secrets that have been talked about on podcasting, need to remove them, you do have the option on Lemur to do that. But once you have your audio and you're happy to go, you hit go to publish. And like Anne was saying there, it goes straight into a screen, similar to your Instagram screen, where you can add an image. You can take a picture straight away or add an image. You have your title, you add your caption, your hashtags. If you're a subscriber to Lemur Patreon, like we are here in our profile, you can instantly add a price tag. So for example, I dropped that down there. It's now $1.99 if you wanted to listen to this cast, or $2.99, whatever the case may be. We have the ability to add categories. So you can add entrepreneurship, technology, conversation, social audio, whatever the case may be. And that helps you be found more easily in Lemur. And if you're an early adopter, it gives you a great opportunity to dominate a space as well, whether it's business or marketing or, content creator. So once you have that, you can choose a language that you are speaking in. So English is there, German. These are going to expand with time as well. And this will be very useful when the search and the AI machine learning is introduced into Lemur. So if you are a Spanish content creator, people will find you first. And of course, location. We have the ability to add mature content also as well, if you are talking about something that you feel is required to be mature content. And then you just simply hit publish and it is then in your profile as quickly as that. Whereas traditional podcasting, when you're editing, usually it's about, if it's an hour's worth of content, it can take you maybe 3 hours worth of editing before it's ready to even publish. So it's speed and convenience and instant podcasting. Or you can save it to a draft and upload it again when you're ready to do so. Or you can continue recording. So I did a cast a while back where I was playing rugby with the Irish Legends versus the English Legends in London just before lockdown. And I recorded the whole day's journey, Dublin Airport, on the plane, landing in Heathrow, on the bus to the pitch, pre-game interviewing all the players, likes of Mike Tyndall and former England internationals and Irish internationals, post the game in the dressing room, and then hit share, and it pieced the whole day together as one podcast instantly. So it's brilliant for a quick way of editing as well. So that's a very quick introduction of how the platform works. There's a lot more nuance to how to create content, and that's obviously what we provide in the consultancy and the enterprise package as well, is that upskilling of helping you with traditional podcast content creation strategy and format, as well as the Lemur strategy. And that's the beauty of it. As we mentioned, we're not trying to compete with traditional podcasting. We want to complement it. So we do help people if they want to go down that route. You can record your pre-produced studio level content also, and you can still upload that to Lemur if you are a enterprise user also. So it's the whole package, which is what's very exciting about it. So I think that is a very quick overview of how the app works. And if we want
that's brilliant. I think it's really, it is really easy to use. And I think if you share it on places like LinkedIn, you can get quite a lot of interaction. We've had quite a few questions actually. So Ruth is very actively asking lots of questions. So she's also thanked you for the interesting presentation. So her first question is, how does the audio quality of podcasts stand up with regard to Spotify or other distribution? So obviously with Lemur, it's on your phone and you're not using a specific mic.
It's excellent. It's one of the things that many people remark on how good it is, and in general, it is to do with the device you're using. And new iPhones, new smartphones in particular, the level of quality of the microphones is outstanding. And so I can stand up against any quality of audio in regards to that. And she also has a question, I think, in terms of the ownership of it.
Yes.
So the ownership, it's 100% owned by the content creator, but as long as it's on the platform, we can use it for marketing perspectives and pushing it like any other social media platform. No.
It's even worth you going over to the App Store and downloading it while we're talking. So you can
100%.
Yeah,
I'll give you a follow.
Yeah, so if you guys want to go and download now, and then you can see quite a lot of the free functionality. Okay, so Chris is asking a question. I may be duplicating as I emailed question yesterday, but just to cover me, we're constantly asked about advertising construction podcasts relevant to our business, but I'm always dubious about return on investment of such a large sum of budget, as I personally have I rarely interact with companies that advertise on pod. Okay, so sorry, the screen's moving. Yeah, so there's a couple of things there. So he's asking about audio ads. So obviously what Shane's talking about is being an audio creator or a podcast creator, but you can buy ads that are slotted within a podcast. So Acast is one example, and I know there's quite a few more. I think Global and Spotify themselves allow you to do ads within podcasts. So have you got any opinions on the organic versus the paid aspect of promotion, and the credibility part of that, or how effective ads are, particularly for it sounds like he's particularly interested in a niche area. So
yeah, it's funny you mentioned construction. One of my friends is a building services engineer in London, working on some of the top construction projects in the city, and we're about to help him set up a podcast of his own, because he deals with some incredible people, developers as well as money men behind it and people in the construction space. Yes, you can pay for ads to insert into other podcasts. I would definitely suggest, if you're at that level and you're taking the effort to pay money for ads, that you start your own show, because you have a lot more control on it, and I feel you'll get a lot more out of it as well, because the whole thing is to build that relationship with your target audience. And what better way to build a relationship and trust than create your own content and let them buy into you as a person and as a business, and then they will have more trust to buy your product, as opposed to an inserted ad. And there's two different ad types in general on podcasts. It's that paid for inserted pre-recorded ads that are kind of unrelated to the host, or there is the real-time ads that are read by the host, which are definitely much more effective, because in general the host will read from a script, or they'll make a joke about it, or add it into the conversation, which is a lot more organic. And then they often say, listen, I only associate with brands that I trust in, that I believe in myself, and that's buying into the relationship and trust that they have with the consumer. Whereas a paid for ad that's inserted is just a paid for ad, and people take for that, and they generally just would maybe skip it.
And just for anybody else that's in construction, we've got a construction special webinar specifically for construction, to give a bit of information about the market and everything on, I think it's Thursday, the 22nd of September. I'll just check that date. But while I'm checking that date, do you want to share your slides, Shane, and just show us about the enterprise one? Yeah. I think it's Thursday, the 22nd of September is our construction special. So if any of you are interested in that. So I think you can skip through a few of the slides at the beginning.
Yeah, some of the slides will be replicated from the one. So as mentioned, Lemur is the place where voices meet. You'll see an additional word here for the enterprise. So record, share, measure, and monetize. So the measure aspect is emphasizing the new enterprise dashboard that's currently in development, that's going to be available for this package, which is a game changer when it comes to monitoring your audience. So again, the enterprise is the B2B SaaS platform version of Lemur, focus on individuals or businesses and corporates to give them a lot more detail and functionality. So you've seen this already in terms of the target market is that content creator economy. So the problem you'll see an additional problem here. So the original one was Sarah, which you saw on that original deck, which is focusing on the individual. Then on the right, you'll see here is corporate. This example we're giving is G1st LEP, who are going to be coming on board as one of our first corporate clients for Lemur Enterprise, which is very exciting for us, having such an organization have the confidence to use the platform. So the LEPs, for people who aren't aware, are responsible for strategic economic plans around England. And this one in particular is Gloucestershire, where I'm based in the UK. They want to start a podcast in order to connect with their client base through voice, establish their brand in the podcast space, and learn more detail about their audience with podcast analytics to drive further growth of the LEP. Same as Sarah, but they both discovered that podcasting is expensive, time-consuming, and complicated. Expanding on that part of the problem, and I touched on this with the story of my dad, starting a traditional podcast is expensive, time-consuming, and complicated. There's a lot of equipment you have to buy, and there's a lot of upskilling that you have to do, and there's a lot of time involved. And your time is priceless, especially as a business owner. So that includes microphones, headphones, audio interface, recorders, a laptop specific to it if you don't have it, editing software. You have to learn how to edit and produce. You have to learn about RSS feeds. You learn how to distribute, have to pay for hosting, poor analytics, and again, your time. Industry standards of pricing as well. Basic two-person equipment setup can range from anything to £400 to £2,000 before you even get started, before learning and before putting all that time and effort into creation. Then you look at the 3 to 4 person equipment setup, basic £1,000 to £4,000. And if you say, I don't have time to do it myself, I want to go to a studio and pay them to professionally produce my show, you're looking average costs in the UK is £1,000 per episode. And depending on the quality that you want, can cost as much as £15,000. Massive cost just to get started. And then from a consulting perspective, you're looking at the average podcast audio day rate of consultancy is around the £1,000 mark. So massive barriers. And that's a big reason why there's only 2.5 million podcasts globally. And it's a problem that Lemur solves instantly, because you can start instantly for free on the platform. So you get your instant production, distribution, engaged, and social audio interactivity. That's the thing with traditional podcasting. There is no interactivity whatsoever. We have it. And it's not just text interactivity. It is voice interactivity, as mentioned. The voice comments game changer, as well as the analytics, which is absolutely key for any business. So enterprise as a SaaS model, it's subscription, yearly subscription, support, and analytics. So what you get in that, of course, is all the features are free. You get the cast preview sharing. You have the ability to upload your pre-recorded audio, schedule your pre-recorded audio, your ability to download any content created on the platform, your analytical dashboard, the ability to export reports, tiered admin creation, which is something that's being built at the moment, is you'll have, like your LinkedIn profile, for example, you can have members of your team creating content and distributing on the platform at the same time. Great example of that would be a newspaper. An editor sets up an enterprise profile, and then say they have 20 journalists. Each one of them can be linked to the enterprise profile, so they can have 20 podcasters instantly anywhere in the globe creating podcasts just for that newspaper profile. So it's the same thing you could do for your business. And you have the ability to switch between personal and admin. And what's really, really important, and is one of the most requested things we've had, is the consultancy and the onboarding support. And I want to start a podcast, but what do I talk about? How do I get started? How do I build my format? How do I make short content? How do I make long content? So on and so forth. And sonic branding. That's one of the biggest things you're going to continue to hear moving into the future is sonic branding, voice identity.
Can you explain what that is? Because most people have not heard of that term before. Exactly.
A very quick example is a tune you may all recognize. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it. McDonald's. Or from the movies, I'll be back, Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's association of a brand or a personality with a sound or a phrase. And another one, for example, when you hear a text message come in on an iPhone, there's a distinctive tune to that sound, and it is instantly recognizable as an iPhone. That's sonic branding. So that is going to be so important moving into the future of voice technology, because that's what Lemur is being built for, as mentioned in the conversation, the video, is where technology is going. It's all going to be voice activated. It's all going to be voice interaction, because it's so convenient and it works so well. And Lemur is a platform that allows you to begin that journey ahead of everyone else, and be at the front of the queue, as it were, to build that identity. So that's a huge part of it as well. Here's a power of social audio in action. So with the enterprise, you can actively measure your social audio, work with us to build that sonic identity and sonic brand, and grow your network by generating leads and building trust. So over the course of June was the first time we were on the ground with the new platform, talking to people, recording and giving us feedback, which has led us to accelerate this enterprise package in the development. So over the course of June, we attended 5 events, IRX, where we met Anne and Katie,
yep.
and the podcast show in London, which is the biggest show of its kind in Europe. First time they ever held it. It was sponsored by Spotify and Amazon. Leicester Digital Live, G-First LEP, and Dublin Tech Summit. We recorded 55 podcasts over those events and spoke with 40 businesses. 2 hours and 25 minutes worth of content. The average length of a podcast was 2 minutes and 28 seconds, close to that magic number of 3 minutes, which we mentioned. We had 1,100 listens. And you have to remember, sometimes it takes people a year to get 100 downloads with a traditional podcast. But we had the interaction rate as well, 234 likes, 168 recasts, and 167 shares, which I was pleasantly surprised by, of people sharing their interviews or conversations across their own social. We had 74 comments, and the comments then led to an extra 187 listens and an extra 126 likes, with a total of 1,287 listens across those 55 paths. But as a networking and lead generation tool to convert into business was what was so exciting for me. So of the 40 businesses we spoke to, 20 of them downloaded Lemur and set up profiles. And of those 20, 10 subscribed to become Lemur patrons. So that was a 25% conversion rate, which was incredible. So you put that into your business and your context of building relationships with your customers, and it is so effective. Another example of how we use Lemur, which was excellent, was in finding an intern. We did an intern search, and we basically said to them, if you guys want this position as an intern, don't just send us a CV, set up a profile and record a cast and tell us why you should get the role.
That's a good idea.
That is a really good idea.
It was brilliant. The guy we got, he got the job because his voice cast was so good, and he's still with us a year later as a result.
Can I ask you a couple of other practical questions then? Katie, you're going to stick your camera back on. It feels like months ago that we were at IRX. So when you're having a conversation with somebody and it's almost like a two-way conversation rather than just a monologue, how do you set that up? Do both of you, is it just that one person is being recorded, or can you have it as an interview and a sort of an answer? Does that work?
As in, like when we met, for example?
Yeah.
Oh, that's more down to the content creator themselves, how they prefer to host their show.
More technically, does one person have a camera on, the other person has their phone on, and then you mix them together, or?
No. Like it's literally with this one. There's no. The only visual would be taking a picture in this instance. So there's no video involved in this. That's getting into the realm of traditional podcasting then as well. You can still do that if you wish. You need a camera, someone to record you, which is we can help with that in terms of the consultancy side of it as well. We're tapped into a lot of traditional podcast producers. That increases the level of complexity and cost and time. So
I think that was going to be my next question, was if you've invested a lot of time doing these sort of mini or shorter podcasts, can they be publicized on something like Spotify, or are they too short for that market?
That's a good question. Of course they can. They can be put up there, most definitely. It just depends on the consumer themselves, whether they're going for long form or short form content. What people expect, again, is the mindset of traditional podcast consumers is they go for long form style of content on traditional platforms like Spotify or Apple. And Lemur gives the option for both. I can't give you the stats. I don't know the stats on that.
No. I'm just curious because of, as I said, most of the podcasts I've ever watched have been actually on YouTube. So, so you've got that sort of, you've got multiple opportunities to distribute the same content. That's what I was.
Yes. Yeah.
Ruth Miller's asked another question as well. So, do listeners have to download Lemur, like in order to like listen to the platform? And if you put a link to your podcast on social media, what happens?
Well, the first 30 seconds can be distributed via social media, can't it?
Yeah, up to 3 minutes. Up to 3 minutes. So you can share up to 3 minutes currently, which people can listen to. So it's a great way to give them a taster. That's what we call it, a cast preview, like a trailer going to a movie. And go, that looks really interesting. I want to go and listen to the rest of it. Or if you're smart with the content, you can keep them really short. People can consume that quickly. But as a content creator, the advantage of Lemur is by building that following, by building that lead generation of voice followers, because they're there for your voice content, and then you can interact with them straight away. And of course, you'll get the analytics. The quality of analytics drop through the floor when people consume content outside of Lemur, because you're going back into the realm of traditional podcasting. But we will be, for enterprise customers as well, we will be building in the option to share the full cast, and we're also developing a web dashboard. Or a web version of your profile, similar to Instagram's web version, where people will be able to see all your content on the web without having to download the app. But if they do want to create their own content or engage, they'd have to set up a profile.
Okay, well, we're nearly at 10 o'clock. So, Katie, can you share all the offers, please?
Yeah. So, Shane, you've got an offer for us today. I'm just going to share this on everyone's screen.
So I'll close that off. If you can stop me sharing as well.
So if you just want to explain about that. So Shane is offering for the whole of August. So to give you a bit of time, because obviously it's still holiday season, isn't it? But 20% off all Lemur enterprise audio deals. So there's a link there that connects to the website. I'm sure Shane can put his email address in the chat as well. And it's like hello.
And it's basically £1,000 for a year, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. So for the enterprise package, the entry level is £1,000 for a year. That includes your onboarding and initial consultancy with us, and there's tiered levels to that as well in terms of how much consultancy you want from me or the team.
Do you want to stick the other ones up then, Katie?
Yeah. Sorry.
We just lose a lot of people at 10 o'clock. So
yeah, no, that's fine. Obviously, as you're all aware, we recorded these at Leicester Digital Live, and it's part of a fundraising movement for UNICEF Ukraine. And, you know, whatever you can donate, there's the call to action there. Donate now. It'd be great if, you know, you're able to do that. It's still a good cause. I know it's out of the media and we're not hearing as much about it, but it's still ongoing and it's just as important as it always was. So, yeah. And then also, just in terms of reviews, obviously we put a lot of effort into all of this, and if you can kindly leave us a review, so that's reviews.io. Who
make sure you mention Shane's name if you've enjoyed it.
Yeah, there's that, and also there's the Google review as well. But yeah, it's been really interesting today, and podcasts. I mean, for me, I listen to them on Spotify, as I mentioned earlier. But I know some people who are always at the gym. You know, it's just what they've got on, in, you know, whilst they're doing their runs and stuff. And it's just, and as you say, it's just being underutilized. There's a lot of growth there. So I've really enjoyed today, Shane.
And what's next week's, Katie?
I think we're going to do. Let me just check.
Any final words from you, Shane, while Katie's just finding out what the next week's webinar is?
Yeah, if anyone would like to find out more or learn more about voice in general, I'd be happy to talk to you as well if you're interested in enterprise. I've shared my email in the chat, shane.monohan@lemur.ie. And listen, thank you very much, Anne and Katie, for having me again. It's an absolute pleasure. I have to have you on my podcast in the future.
Absolutely.
As a guest.
Basically, next week I need to talk to ATG and Steve, but it's just literally about cybersecurity and the crime story, webinar that and session that he did at Leicester Digital Live, which was amazing and really well received. And then on the 2nd of September, I can't believe we're talking about September already, to be honest. We've got Kenda here talking about, cognitive behavior, and it's called Fighting Brains with Marketing, the Art and Science of Banishing Cognitive Bias.
I think it was the most popular talk of the day, wasn't it?
She is amazing. She's phenomenal. Very, very intelligent person. So yeah, so
from yours, of course, Shane.
Of course.
Obviously, yeah, Shane. Sorry, Shane.
Yeah, that was brilliant.
No, it was. It was unfortunately a lot of people. One of the other reasons for recording this and paying out for the video to be recorded was so that a lot of people were in the other room. So half the day people were in separate rooms, so everybody didn't get a chance to watch all of them. But thanks very much, everybody. We're end the webinar now, and we will see you all next week, and you'll get the recording in about 2 hours. Speak to you later. Thanks a lot. Thanks so much, Shane.
Bye. Cheers.
Bye. Bye.